Welcome to this demonstration of how the vCloud Director Tenant Portal can be used to manage networks within an organization. Offering self-service capabilities for tenants to create and connect workloads can be quite complex in a cloud platform. In a multi-tenant environment, the network function must be utmost flexible while maintaining a maximum of security. Leveraging software-defined networking technologies backed by VMware NSX meets these requirements exactly. To leverage the full potential of a vCloud Director-based organization, it is necessary to understand the fundamental concept. Within vCloud Director, external networks, which are managed by the service provider, have org VDC networks within each tenant organization, which are fed by vApp networks. This video is going to explain the differences between each of the network types and how the theoretical concept can be applied within the vCloud Director Tenant Portal. So what are the differences between those network types? A vCloud Director external network provides an uplink interface that connects networks and VMs in the system to a network outside of the organization. Typically, this network is backed by a VLAN that can be used to connect the organization to the internet or to the customer's on-premises network. An org VDC network enables the virtual machines inside the organization to communicate with each other and can be used to add additional network services like DHCP, NAT, or firewalling. An org network can be extended across multiple organization virtual data centers. A single organization virtual data center can have multiple networks and is managed by the tenant entirely. A vApp network is used to create connectivity between VMs within a vApp. A vApp can have multiple VMs and can be enriched with features like DHCP, firewalling, or NAT as well. Being part of the vApp, the network information can be easily imported from a catalog or exported into new vApps. Organization VDC networks can be configured and integrated with other vCloud Director networks. The org VDC network can directly connect to a network outside of the organization, for example with a specific VLAN at the service provider's site. Important, this feature requires a configuration by the service provider. Org VDC networks that are configured as routed networks are connected to a network outside of the organization through IP routing. It might include network services like NAT, VPN, or firewall. vApp networks can have direct connected and routed networks as well. The isolated or internal org VDC network has no outside connectivity out of the organization. Remember, an isolated network can be migrated to a routed network in case outside connectivity is going to be required. A cross VDC network can be used in case a network needs to span multiple org VDCs that are spanning multiple sites. Since we are now familiar with the network concept within vCloud Director, we can dive deeper into how the different network and connectivity types can be applied within the vCloud Director Tenant Portal. This logical diagram demonstrates the current setup in our environment. In our scenario, the organization Happy Tenant has the org VDCs Gold and Silver. The service provider offers an external network that is connected to the internet or the tenant on-premises network. Besides the external network, the service provider has also deployed an Edge Services Gateway for the organization. This Edge Services Gateway can only be deployed by the service provider, but can be fully consumed by the tenant for services like load balancing, VPN, dynamic routing, etc. So far, the tenant has created new vApps, one for a web shop and one vApp for the terminal servers of the developers and web shop testers. Currently, none of the virtual machines within the vApp have any kind of network connectivity. So now, let's check out how this looks like in the vCloud Director Tenant Portal. After logging in to the vCloud Director Tenant Portal, we navigate to the org VDC Gold, where we will create some networks. Let's filter the vApp for a specific owner so that the screen matches the scenario described earlier. Click the Terminal vApp to view the details about the VMs within this vApp. The current network characteristics can be inspected under Network Diagram. Currently, no network is shown, and therefore we have 0 connected VMs. The same situation applies for the network diagram of our web shop. Both workload VMs, Web01 and DB01, are not connected to any network. In the first step, we will create an isolated org VDC network with the name Happy Tenant Network that is initially not connected to any external network. After this, the TS01 virtual machine of the VApp terminal will be connected directly into the newly created org VDC network. Next, we will create a VApp network within the web shop. Both virtual machines, Web01 and DB01, will be connected to this newly created VApp network. So much in theory, but how does it look like in the vCloud Director tenant portal? Back in the vCloud Director tenant portal, we select Network and notice that currently only a single external network has been configured for the tenant by the service provider. This network can be used to interconnect networks from within the organization to networks out of the organization. Since we are going to create a new org VDC network, we click Add. As we have described earlier, we start with an isolated org VDC network, which means that in the first step we don't have any connectivity out of the organization. Click Next and provide general information such as name and gateway IP and subnet of this network. The name will be Happy Tenant Network, and the IP and subnet for this network is supposed to be 192.168.100.1/24. The specified IP address will be then used by the vCloud Director edge that is deployed in this network. This edge can be used to deliver other services like NAT or firewalling. For now, we can leave the shared setting deselected. Enable this setting would make this org VDC network available to other org VDCs in our cloud environment. Optionally, we can define a static IP pool that can be used by virtual machines connected to this network. The other options are manual or DHCP-based IP configuration. We define this static IP pool as 192.168.100.150 and it goes to 199. We click Next and enter the DNS server IP addresses 192.168.76.10 and .11 with the happytenant.org. Review the settings and click Finish. Now it's time to connect the TS01 VM and the terminal VApp to the newly created Happy Tenant Network. Select VApps and open the terminal VApp. Click Networks to add the VApp to the org VDC network. Click New, and then select the org VDC network and the Happy Tenant network. After clicking Add, the network is connected to the VApp. Navigate back to the Details tab and open the context page of the TS01 virtual machine. Open Hardware Configurations and find the NICs section. For NIC 0, select Happy Tenant Network. Change the IP mode to Static IP Pool so that the VM uses an IP address out of the pool we have created earlier, and make sure the Connect checkbox is selected. Click Save and verify that the TS01 VM is connected to the Happy Tenant Network. In the next step, we are going to create a VApp network for our web shop and connect this VApp network to the Happy Tenant org VDC network. Click VApps and open the web shop VApp. Select Networks and click New. Select VApp Network and provide the following configuration information. The name is going to be Web Shop. The gateway CIDR is 192.168.101.1/24. as well as the DNS server IP addresses 192.168.76.10 and .11, and happytenant.org as the domain. On the bottom of the window, turn on the Connect to an Org VDC networking option and select Happy Tenant Network. Click Add and the VApp network is added. Click Details and select the Web01 VM. Within the hardware configuration, configure the primary NIC so that it is connected to the webshop network. IP mode should be static manual, and type the IP address of this VM, which is 192.168.101.100. Click Save. Repeat the VM network configuration steps for DB01 and verify that both VMs are connected to the VApp network and the VApp network is connected to the Org VDC network. We have now created Layer 2 connectivity within our vCloud Director organization. To make sure that users that are logged in to the TS01 server can interact with the application running in the workload VApp, a proper routing between those networks needs to be defined, or NATing on the VApp network needs to be configured so that an IP address in the Happy Tenant network will be translated to the proper IP address of the web server Web01. So how do we configure this in the vCloud Director tenant portal? Within the Webshop VApp page, select Networks and click on the Webshop Network item. Select Services and verify that NAT and the firewall are enabled. Since we are going to establish HTTP connectivity, we need to make sure that the firewall rule is configured that allows HTTP traffic to the NATed Web01 interface. We click Edit and create a rule with the name Allow HTTP. The rule is supposed to be enabled. The action is Allow, Protocol TCP, and in the source, we select the source type of any source with any port. Click Keep, and in the destination, we select a virtual machine as the destination type and Web01 as the virtual machine. This applies to NAT IP with a port of 80. Click Save to save the rule. Currently, an automatic mapping is happening between the external IP address 192.168.100.154 that is translated to the primary Web01 network interface. Let's open a console session to terminal server TS01 and verify if we can reach the web server that is running on Web01. When you navigate to http://192.168.100.154, which is the external address, we're able to reach the web server. This short scenario has shown which network components exist and how they can be easily created within vCloud Director. Next, we're going to discuss further operational tasks that can be done from within the vCloud Director tenant portal. Typical tasks for VApps and Org VDC networks are to interconnect existing and new networks with each other, for example to ensure that an isolated Org VDC network can connect to an external network. We can configure syslog and send log files out to targets such as VMware vRealize login site. This is especially useful when using firewall rules and logging is enabled. The user can configure network services like DHCP for an automatic IP assignment, firewalling for securing VApps and Org VDC networks, or NATing for translating public routable IP addresses to private IP addresses. Org VDC networks can be shared across multiple Org VDCs if required. As mentioned earlier, the organization edge is created by the service provider. but it can be operated by the organization user like an enterprise network device. Besides the operational tasks that can be done for the org VDC and vApp networks, an org edge has further functionalities like dynamic routing, VPN, or load balancing in place. Remember that the feature set that is available to the tenant depends on the rights that a service provider has assigned to a specific organization. Tenants can talk to their service provider to receive further information of network services that should be available in their organization. Going back to our demonstration, we are now adjusting our org VDC network so that it is available not only within the gold org VDC, but also in the silver org VDC. Furthermore, we changed the org VDC network from an isolated network and connected to the external network via the Edge Services Gateway that has been deployed by the service provider. At last, we will have a look at the network services that are configured on the Organization Edge Services Gateway and configure a load balancer for the web shop, including SSL offloading to the Edge Services Gateway, since a secure HTTPS communication should be used from an external network to the web server. First, we need to make the org VDC network within the gold VDC available for the VDC with its silver service level. Navigate to Networks, click the Happy Tenant network, and validate that the network is currently not shared. Click Edit, and then Shared. Click Save. The network can now also be used from within the other org VDCs within the Happy Tenant organization. Until now, the Happy Tenant network is only available within the tenant's organization. In case we want to connect it to the external network, click the Happy Tenant network and click Edit again. Go to the Connection tab and enable Connect to an Edge Gateway. Select the Happy Tenant ESG Edge that has been deployed by the service provider and click Save. The network is now connected to an external network using an edge. Let's utilize some of those edge network services and create a load balancer for our web shop. Navigate to Edges within the vCloud Director Tenant portal, select the Happy Tenant ESG edge that you want to configure, and click Configure Services. As we can see on the top, a bunch of network services can be configured by the tenant. Since we are going to use a load balancer with SSL offloading, we need to create an SSL certificate at first. Navigate to Certificates and create a Certificate Signing Request, or short CSR. Specify your certificate details. Click Keep. If the tenant has an enterprise CA or you want to let the certificate be signed by a public CA, you can sign it and re-import it into vCloud Director. In this demonstration, a self-signed certificate will be used, so we are going to sign the CSR on our own. Click Self-Sign CSR. Then let's navigate back to the Load Balancer tab. Enable load balancing and click Save Changes. Then, within Application Profiles, add a new application. The name is going to be Webshop HTTPS. The type HTTPS, and then we select the virtual server certificate that we have created in the previous step. Click Keep. In the next step, we need to create a network pool that includes our web servers. Click plus, give it a proper name, such as Webshop Dev, select the monitor, and add the web server as a member. In this case, we only have a single member, but we are creating a load balancer right now that lets us easily scale out as soon as a second web server has been deployed in our Webshop app. Click Keep and create a virtual server. Enable the virtual server, Select the application profile web shop. Give it the name webshop HTTPS. Select the proper external IP address. Select HTTPS and the port 443. And the default pool is going to be webshop. Click Keep and verify if the webshop is reachable from the external network via HTTPS. This demonstration has shown how an organization user can change and add network services within the vCloud Director tenant portal. Networks that are created by an organization user can also be deleted, of course. That applies to VApp networks and org VDC networks. Remember that for VApp networks, the VApp must be stopped before the network can be deleted. For an org VDC network, it is important that no network device is connected to the org VDC. This concludes this demonstration of how the vCloud Director tenant portal can be used to manage networks within an organization. Thanks for watching.